Yo, we got another issue, man. So let's talk about this. Some deep shit. So what I've been noticing, just in relationships, is that there's a particular event that I'm starting to see, a particular pattern, which I call the Ken doll theory, which is most women are essentially dating guys who are basically like their Ken doll. They're like playthings. So I don't know if you guys ever remember Barbie, but Barbie was like a popular fucking toy doll back in the day. I guess it's still popular today. And she had a partner, a companion known as Ken. And Ken was like the perfect fucking guy. This tall, kind of muscular, handsome, boyish charm, clean face, nice hair. And basically, girls would play with Barbie and Ken would do all the fucking shit that the good, ideal husband would do. But he wasn't a real dude. He was like this fake character, this fake caricature of a guy. And so a lot of women grew up on that idea of like the Barbie and the Ken and the big house and the stove and all that other shit. And like, as Barbie started to morph and become more of a feminism, Ken became more of a bitch ass nigga. And what I'm starting to see now is in today's age, a lot of women are essentially living out their Barbie fantasy. And this is what I call the Ken theory. Because a lot of guys have just simply relegated themselves into being Ken. And I always make fun of tall guys. I make fun of tall guys a lot. Because tall guys think that they're somehow like these special brand of people for some reason. They believe that God is looking down upon them with some great ideals, something like that. And I make fun of them because I try to tell guys that are tall are suffering so much in real life. Because yeah, they get a lot of women's attention and women date them, but they never actually develop like the character of how to be a guy because they think women are so easy to replace. But really, what's really going on is women are replacing them essentially because they go around and act like fuckboys. And so they're never able to keep a woman for too long. They always are losing on the back end. They get a lot of front end attention. And girls date them. They like them because they're tall because they fit their Barbie fantasy land of this tall guy who is like a Prince Charming, but in real life he's a loser. And what has happened is a lot of guys are going into the Ken route where they look like the physical thing of what a man should look like, but they're not actually doing man stuff. They're existing as a caricature of a man to basically be a plaything for their girl. And so now we have like all these girls who are essentially cosplaying like their Barbie fantasy in real life. And the vanity of women is so crazy that like they really think this makes sense and the world revolves around them and that they'll always have like a Ken. There'll always be some good dashingly handsome guy that will just come in there and like he'll put on the apron and he'll cook for her and she'll just be like the boss girl, like the doctor girl. And that's what a lot of girls really want their fantasy to be, is which they're like this, they're living like dual lives. They want to be like this certain figure that looks good on Instagram, and then they want to be freaks and sheiks, be on the streets where nobody can see what they're doing. They want to live these double, triple, quadruple, fourth time lives. And so what I'm noticing is a lot of guys are facilitating this fantasy. See, in the olden days, women were never able to have these type of crazy, like they could have these fantasies, but they were always subject to reality because reality was very brutal and very harsh. And guys didn't have time to put up with women's nonsense. But since we live in this age of softness where we have basically civilized the world to such a degree that women feel safe just kind of walking around and not have to worry about being abducted. Like that used to be a real thing. I don't know if people ever recognize this, but women abductions was like commonplace throughout history. Like that was the common norm throughout most of civilization of man, is if a woman was ever caught out in the wild or just outside the home, she was abducted and never seen or heard from again. Same thing with children. Like if a child or a young girl was just out and about, some guy would just snatch her up, grab her, put her on horseback, and she was gone. We don't have to worry about today's age, which is a huge step forward in humanity. I'm very proud of us as a species that we've almost eliminated that completely in the Western world. But the byproduct is women are kind of going cuckoo because there's nothing keeping them constrained from wrecking an environment. And when I say wrecking an environment, I mean so as in like women don't necessarily build. And when I say build, I'm not talking about businesses. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like constructional building, where you have to get your hard labor, where your hands are getting dirty, you're doing dangerous stuff, you're wrestling with the nature, you're fighting off like animals. You're subjugating other human tribes. They don't do that type of stuff. That's not women's domain. Women don't build in that particular capacity. That's a man's game. And so naturally, women kind of just take from an environment. They take from an environment and they cause a strain upon their environment because they don't have the ability to basically maintain themselves. Like if we took a group of guys and we put, like when they already tested this, if we put a group of guys on an island and they put a group of women on the island, the men will already have a fire, shelter, be hunting for fish within the day. Women will still be trying to figure out who's the leader and be arguing and bickering with each other because they don't want nobody wants to be able to take the leadership role. They're all scared of being the leader. And we've seen this play out in different experiments on different reality TV shows. Women are just not, that's not their game. Women are very good at other things, but survival is not their particular thing. Or at least survival on their own is not their particular thing. You don't ever find wild species of a woman animal anywhere on the fucking planet just by herself. You'll find guys, but you rarely find a woman just rocking by herself. They run in packs. They run in social groups. Women are very social creatures. They need a social network in order to be able to operate. Men, not so much. Men are mostly lone wolves, and we grown together in order to work for a common goal, and then we disappear amongst each other. But the big problem that I'm discovering is that most men are not building and not doing serious things, so they spend their time placating to women, and they're facilitating because there's other guys like me who are builders. While we are maintaining the structures of civilization, these guys have figured out, oh, well, if I don't have to go and build stuff, I can go over here and facilitate and be like the girls, like Ken doll. And that way I'll still be around women and I won't look as gay. Because that does make you look kind of gay if you're just as a dude not being around doing dude stuff. People are going to start asking, like, what are you doing? Like, I don't understand. What are you doing as a man if you're not building and growing and fighting? So you have to figure out, well, I'm busy. I have a girlfriend. I have a wife. I have something. So most of the relationships that you see a lot of guys are in is as a cope so they don't look like they're gay, essentially. And that's why I say a lot of girls are dating gay guys. It's very interesting. A lot of girls are dating gay guys and they're fucking chads behind their back on the low. And that's really the situation we got going on in the modern dating scene, in which is why I try to explain. Most guys are basically being played as like Ken dolls for women. And the same thing with the dog, like the dog mom. She's playing a house. Instead of going with a real man and building a household with a man, she'd rather just play house than actually really build a house. And see, this is the problem with civilization, because this is going to come to a crutch where we're going to hit a breaking point where there's too many people playing house, not enough people building houses, and the shit's going to collapse because nobody's going to be able to maintain all these playhouses. These playhouses are going to start to crumble. They're going to start to rot from the inside. And then eventually, somebody has to pick up the pieces and build it up. And that's where men are going to have to come back in and start to remake civilization great again. But then, yeah, that's the situation we find ourselves. We got a lot of Ken doll guys out here. And so you need to ask yourself as a man, are you going to be the real guy? Are you going to be a G.I. Joe soldier? Or are you going to be the Ken doll? Which one do you want to be? Make a choice, bro. I mean, I'm not judging either. Well, I am judging. I'm always judging. But I ain't judging which one you doesn't say. Be open. Don't be a Ken doll and then try to come out here and say I'm G.I. Joe. Either be G.I. Joe, be Ball the Builder, or be the Ken doll, man. Jesus Christ. Hit the Cash App. Hit me up if you're trying to learn some more about how to be a better builder and a better G.I. Joe. Because we're trying to build men out here.